Welcome back to my chemistry lessons. Today we are going to discuss the galvanic cell or electrochemical cell. So what is meant by an electrochemical cell? Electrochemical cell is a device in which chemical energy is converted into electrical energy. So galvanic cell or electrochemical cell, also known as a Voltaic cell. The very best example for galvanic cell is Daniel cell. So a Daniel cell consists of two electrodes, an anode and cathode. So an anodic part contains a zinc rod dipped in zinc sulfate solution. Zinc rod dipped in zinc sulfate solution. And the cathodic part contains a copper rod dipped in copper sulfate solution. And these two electrolytes are connected through a U-shaped glass tube. And that glass tube contains an electrolyte in a semi-solid form. And that U-shaped glass tube is known as salt bridge. When these two electrodes are connected to each other through an electrical bulb, after some time the light bulb starts to light up. So here, when we analyze what are the chemical reactions taking place at anode and cathode, we can understand some electrons produced, and that electrons are cause of producing electrical energy, and that is why the light bulb lights up. So here at the anode, the zinc rod or zinc metal generally has very electropositive character. So zinc has a tendency to lose its outermost electron. So at the anode, zinc loses two electrons and forms zinc dipositive. So that reaction here, the oxidation number of zinc changes from 0 to +2. So there is an increase in oxidation number. So that reaction is known as an oxidation. So at anode, oxidation takes place. But in the case of cathode, the copper dipositive ions in the solution accepts that electrons and forms copper metal, and that copper metal deposited on the copper cathode. The total reaction in galvanic cell is combination of those two reactions taking place at anode and cathode. So at anode, oxidation, zinc gives dipositive ions +2 electrons, and at the cathode, copper dipositive +2 electron gives copper, metallic copper. So when we add up those two reactions, we will get the total cell reaction in Daniel cell. So when we add up those two individual cell reactions, individual half cell reactions, that is known as oxidation half cell reaction, reduction half cell reaction. So this part, the zinc rod dipped in zinc sulfate, that part is known as a oxidation half cell, and the copper rod dipped in copper sulfate solution, that is known as a reduction half cell. So when we add up those two individual reactions, we'll get a zinc plus Cu di positive gives certain di positive plus Cu. So two electrons are, when we add up those two reactions, two electrons are cancelled. So net on the left hand side of this equation, zinc copper dipositive, and on the right hand side zinc dipositive plus copper. So this reaction is known as a redox reaction because it is a combination of oxidation and reduction. So another point is how we can represent a galvanic cell or a Daniell cell in conventional form. We don't need to write or we don't need to draw a picture like this in order to represent a galvanic cell. So there is a conventional method to represent a galvanic cell. So here, in order to represent that cell representation, we will write the anodic part first, then the cathodic part. So when we write the anodic part, the metal first, then the solution. So here zinc sulfate, and the solid and liquid surfaces are separated by a single line. The meaning of this single line means there is a solid liquid separation. And when we write the cathodic part, we will write the first time electrolyte, then the metal. So same we will use to separate the solution and the solid phases by a single line. So the single line means it's a separation of the solid and liquid phases. And there is a two parallel lines in between the anode and cathode. That indicates the salt bridge. So when we represent a cell on conventional way, zinc parallel line, zinc sulfate, two parallel lines, copper sulfate, one parallel line, copper. So this part is anode and this part is cathode. And in Daniell cell, there is another important thing. The electrons are flowing from anode to cathode. That means the anode is rich of electrons.